Okay, so today is the 15th of February where I am, and the first thing I want to do, which I usually do on most sessions, is to just start out and remind you where the requests come from. Every request you work on is someone that went to this website and filled in all this information for a specific trip that they want to take, or they could have gone to our other website, which is this one, and they filled in a flight request quote. When those come into the computer, they come into what we call the lead picker, and the people who are well trained and experienced and are helping us with sales, in addition to doing quotes, come in here and they look for any leads that have come in that need to be worked on. And right now it looks like there's none here that they've all been picked by salespeople. Once the salesperson picks it, then they go down here to their requests and they make sure that all the information is up to date. They call the customer, let them know that we're working on it, and they can filter here for any of them that have come in that they haven't contacted yet, because it'll say attempting contact. This that I'm showing you is things that a salesperson would do. Here's one right here that hasn't been contacted yet. And this is one that did a live online chat on the website instead of filling in the form, but they didn't give any information. They just put they just began to chat and then didn't put any information in. So what the salesperson does in that kind of a case is they click this button that says we need more information, and then it automatically sends an email to the customer that says that we need more information. So the salesperson would click this, and then that'll go out, and then when the person responds, they will just a second, I need to save that. When the person responds, then we can put in the information of what they want, and then it can be quoted by the quoters. This each lead that comes in is not on the quoters list. The quoters don't see them until the salesperson gets all the information, make sure it's all correct, and then they change this right here to pending quote. And then later on, if the customer replied and said, I need a different date or I need something different, then they change it to pending requote. So this one is still in the status of pending, need more information, pending more information required. So then once the salesperson finds out that everything's current, all the details are right, then it comes over here into your quotes needed section. And this is where the quoters, go, and you click on quotes needed, of course. And at the top of the quotes needed are all the old ones that want a requote. Like we sent them a quote, but it wasn't exactly what they wanted, and they would like to see another quote. So you can see it says pending requote right here. That's why this one's at the top, because he's already had some quotes, but he wants to see something different, maybe a different route, different date, something's different. So if you go and look at this one, there's 3 sent already, but that doesn't stop you from sending another one using the exact same miles that were already sent, because it says that he needs a requote. So this one says that AC is done already, but I could go ahead and do AC again, because this old one doesn't match what he wants now. Or maybe it does match what he wants now, and I'd have to double check that before I work on it. So any of these at the top that say pending requote, you would go look at what was sent already, and then you would compare that to what he wants. So if I click edit, if I look at this AC one for Peter Woods, if I click edit, I can look at the itinerary and see if what was sent already is the old version of what he wanted, or is this the new version of what he wanted. So this has an Air India flight in it. If I go up here to the request info and see why it needs a requote, it says in the requote, do not use Air India, okay? So this quote was sent before the information was updated, before the customer said, okay, I see the quote, but look, it has Air India in it. I don't want Air India. He doesn't want Air India or Turkish Air. So you as a quoter, if you work on one of these that needs a requote, you have to read this and see, oh, okay, the quote that I'm looking at doesn't fit the bill. It doesn't fit what the customer wants. That's why he wants a requote, okay? And so what I'm going to do is write down some information from this because I don't like to flip back and forth. I'd rather have the information. Now notice how this date up here, let me get my pointer. Notice how this date up here is a weird date. It's 1969. That means ignore it, and it means ignore this date also because it's 1969. And when those dates are weird, instead of using those dates, you read down here and use these dates, okay? So the right dates are down here. He wants the 13 or 14 of September. So I'm gonna write that down on a piece of paper, 13, 14 September. And he also wants to prefer to stop over in India for a few days along the way. So he wants to go first to India for a few days, and then, oh, and he says, but don't use Air India or Turkish Air. Then he wants an open jaw. Open jaw just simply means that he's coming back from a different city instead of the one he flew to. So his main trip is Sydney to London. See that right there? So his main trip is Sydney to London, but on the way to London, he wants to stop in India for a few days, but he doesn't want us to use Air India for the flights. And then on the way home, he's not going to come home from either India or London. He's going to come back from somewhere else. And that's why it's called an open jaw. Open jaw simply means that it's like an open mouth. If you start here in Sydney, Australia, go to India, stay a few days, and then go to London. But if it was a round trip, you'd be coming back from London, but he's not coming back from London. He's coming back from Barcelona. And so he starts out and he goes to somewhere, and then when he gets to where he's going, he takes a train or a car or a different flight or a boat, and he gets to Barcelona, Spain on his own, and he comes home Barcelona. So this part right here that's open, that has a flight missing, this is the open jaw. It's like an open mouth. Think of this as a mouth, and the mouth is open because it's open because this flight from London to Barcelona is missing. It's open. It's like open jaw. So the trip starts here, goes to London, and then comes back from Barcelona. And here's the mouth. Here's the open jaw. That's why it's called an open jaw. So going to London but home from Barcelona means that it's an open jaw because there's a flight missing. He's going to go either by train, by car, by boat, by bicycle, by maybe buying his own separate flight to get from London to Barcelona. Okay, and his Barcelona is on the 6th or 7th of October. So I'm going to write that down. Okay, so he wants to go the 13 or 14 of September, come back the 6th or 7th of October. And it says use at least $800 GP on this person. Usually our GP is around $400 a person, but there's some customers that we go with higher GP. And if that's the case, it'll sometimes tell you that in here. So we're going to use at least 800 GP on this particular quote. Bear with me while I get rid of the pointer now. I got to get rid of the pointer, otherwise I can't click anything. I can only point. Okay, so now when you see that red dot, that means that's not a pointer anymore and I can click on things. So what I do is I go write all this down and see how it says jaw up here. That's talking about the open jaw. It's saying be careful. He's coming home from a different city. He's not coming home from London. Okay, and so this workflow checklist is now not up to date anymore, even though it was already in Air Canada when sent it. It wasn't right. It didn't fit the bill. It doesn't fit the new information. So I'm going to put in my name in here. If there was somebody else's name here already, if it was one that was completed, I can remove the word completed and put my name here, because if the other person completed it, they're done. And now I can work on it also. Maybe I have a different idea. Maybe it needs to be requoted. So if somebody's name is here already and it says completed and you want to work on it, you can, if there's a reason. And there's a reason, because the last person who sent Air Canada sent the wrong information. It wasn't wrong when he sent it. We just didn't know at that time that the customer wanted something different. That's why it's in the requote section. Okay, so now that we know what he wants and we've either erased the previous person or put mine in here, sometimes when it asks for a requote, it erases everything that was here in the workflow so that we can start fresh again. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. Okay, so we went and looked at the old quote, And actually we're still looking at the old quote that was sent, because see, it says sent. So we're still in a quote. Let me just show you. We're still in a quote, the old one that was sent by JASM, because it says sent here, it says a different quoter. And if I go down here and look at the itinerary, there's already an itinerary in here. So even though we're working, we can change the request workflow checklist, and it doesn't matter if we're in an old quote or a new quote or what, because this is just a common thing that's in all the quotes for this customer. So I can change this request workflow checklist even though I'm in somebody else's quote, because I'm not changing their quote, I'm just changing the checklist. But if I go down here, look at the itinerary, there's already an itinerary here, so I can't do another one in here. There's already an itinerary, it already says sent, it already has a different person name. So what I'm going to do is close this one. I can't save it because it's already sent, it's already done. So the only thing I can do is close it and go back up here to quotes needed again, find that same name again, and this time instead of clicking on the plus symbol and then clicking on the edit to go look at what's happened already, I'm going to go and make a new quote, right? Okay. Now, if I'm not sure that I'm going to make a new quote, I don't have to click on new yet. I don't need to click on new unless I find something that I can quote. So I don't even have to start a new quote yet if I don't want to. I can go look and see if it's available first. So he said he wants to go from Sydney to London, but he wants to stop in India. So I'm going to just do the part from Sydney to India first. Let's forget about London for a minute. Oops, not London, Delhi. And he wants to go around the 13th or 14th of September. There's 2 people. So what I'm doing is I'm looking to see if it's available even before I waste time starting a quote. You see what I mean? And you can do that if you want to. It's for 2 people. And I like to get rid of this other KVS up here and instead hit this gear so that I already have the same cities typed in automatically without having to type them again over here. So I get rid of my second one and open up a second one using this gear. And then you click on launch another instance. And now both of them say Sydney, Delhi. And that way I can check 2 dates at once. I can check the 13th of September and I can hit the down arrow here and check the 14th of September. So what I'm looking for is just for the first part of his trip, just from Sydney to Delhi, not to London yet, not to Barcelona yet, not home from Barcelona yet, just this one first little piece, because he said that he wants to go to Delhi. So let me see if I can find Delhi. So here's CS Plus. So there's one going to Delhi, and it's Thai Airways, and that's one of the airlines that he said he would accept. And then it's on the date he prefers, so I don't even need to pay attention to the other date. So I found out that I should get the first part of his trip from Air Canada and that it's available. And while I'm here, if I wanted to, I could think, let's see, is there any other way to get to Delhi that's maybe nonstop? Let's try this one. So before I go use that one has a plane change in Bangkok. It goes from Sydney to Bangkok to Delhi. And that's good, but it's not as good as if I can find a nonstop. So before I go work on that, I'm going to check maybe some other airlines while I'm here. Anyway, see, there's another one, but it's not nonstop, so it doesn't advantage me anything. If I check the next day, and I know it's not nonstop because there's 2 flights here, and there's one of them has an arrow. That means they're connected. This one goes from Sydney to PVG, and then from PVG to Delhi, and this one does the same thing the next day. So that doesn't give me any advantage. It's still a plane change. So let's see who might go from Sydney all the way to Delhi. What about Asia Miles? We'll try Asia Miles real quick. What I'm trying to do is get something better than what I found. I found one with 1 plane change, but is there one that's nonstop? So before I go make the quote, I want the best flight I can give him. So I'm just quickly checking other airlines to see if something else has a nonstop. And the ones that are likely are the ones that I'm trying. And experience will tell you this. You'll learn that from experience. So I'm using KVS first to find out what date's available, what airline I should use. That's basically it, what date's available and what airline I should use. So I'm fishing around right now before I even get started. Notice I haven't even started a quote yet. because I wasn't sure that I'd find anything. There's no sense wasting time doing a quote if I don't find anything. There's no CS pluses here that are connected. See, this one is just from Hong Kong to Delhi. It doesn't have the part from Sydney to Hong Kong. So those are not going to work. So then the last one I'll check real quick is just Qantas, just because the trick is to pick an airline that either lives in India or lives in Sydney. Sydney is Australia. Qantas is an Australian airline. So obviously it might have a nonstop from Australia to Delhi, and it doesn't. And it doesn't even have 2 CS pluses on that one, or FS plus, and it doesn't have a nonstop. So the only possibility out of all these airlines that I found that's any good is either Air Canada or Delta. I'm going to skip the Delta because experience tells me that the Delta is offering a Chinese airline, which is not as good as the Thai Airways. And besides that, the customer said he prefers Thai Airways. So now I know I am going to make a quote. So I'm going to click new. I already put in there that I was going to use Air Canada miles because I knew I was going to use Air Canada miles just because of experience. So what I'm going to do is copy Peter Woods and put it in the name section first instead of what's there. And then I'm using AC miles, so I'm going to put AC. I'm going to put requote so everybody knows this is a new one. AC requote. When it's a requote, it's nice to tell people that so they know, well, this is not the old version, this is the new version, so they know they know not to do it. It just tells them, don't think that this is the old information. Don't think this is the old quote before he asked for a requote. This is a new requote. This one's up to date. So when somebody sees that, they're gonna say, oh, it's already requoted using AC. I'll requote it using something else. Okay, so then the next thing we have to do is go find out how many miles it is. And remember, KVS told us that it was on AC, and it was on the 13th of September, which is what he wanted. I could write down the flight numbers from here, but it's a lot more accurate to write them down from the Air Canada website. So I'm going to use this tab here and go to Air Canada, which is my shortcut right there. And we're going to put in the cities. So KVS told me to go to Air Canada. It told me that I'm probably going to find it with one connection. It told me that the connection time was short. It told me that it was CS Plus, it was available. So now I know I can go to the Air Canada. I know I'm not wasting my time. And you can do the flights piece by piece. Notice his trip is a long trip, but I'm just doing the first little piece first because it happens to be what he wants. So this is Sydney to Delhi. He said he'd like to use Thai Airways if possible, and experience will tell you that Thai Airways you can get from Air Canada because it's a partner, and he wants to go September 13th. Looks like my computer runs slow when it's sharing the screen. You guys can see what I'm doing. You can see the Air Canada, right? Just Skype me or talk and tell me.
Yes, I can.
See, looks like I'm in, oh, I need September. Okay, so we'll go to September here. September 13th is what KVS said was available. And for this piece, it's just one way, 2 people, because we're just getting the one-way piece from Sydney to Delhi right now. We're going to, you know what, I wonder if he wants to leave earlier to allow for that. Let me go research that a little bit. He might want to leave on an earlier date to allow for the fact that he's going to stay in India a few days. Let me go read. I'm going to go read on another monitor what he said to see if I'm remembering right, that whether or not he wants to leave a few days earlier. give me a minute. I'm just doing some research about this customer to see what he actually said, if he said he wants to leave earlier or what in that case. Okay, it doesn't say, so let me check his notes and make sure I didn't miss that. In other words, does he want to leave 3 days earlier from Australia, or does he want to get to London 3 days later if he's going to stay in India? So I'm just researching that a little bit to see if it says anything about that. So it doesn't say. So what we'll do is we'll base it on when we can go from Delhi to London. So before I go put in all those flights and do all that work, now I'm going to check and see if I hit this swap button and go from Delhi to London, how am I going to get from Delhi to London without using Air India, because he says he doesn't want Air India. Okay, so I'll try it on Air Canada first, and then I'll also try it on these other airlines. Let's see, we'll try it on Qantas. I want to hit the swap button, Delhi to London. So I'm looking for the second piece before I even put in the first piece, because that might change the date that I'm going to use the first piece. I might have to move that date. So there's Air India, but he doesn't want Air India. So that one's no good. We could try maybe a day earlier. And this one over here, oh, it's perfect. British Air nonstop from Delhi to London. And that's using either Qantas miles, or because it's a partner, I could use British Air miles, or I could use CX miles. All three of those are partners. So chances are if I found it on one, I can find it on another. So the one that I'm going to use is just the one that charges the least for it, because they have different prices for the same flight. And I've also got to decide what date I'm going to use. So if he goes the 13th and then goes the 16th, we can use, this one says that there's 2 seats left using British Air. So we could use Qantas, we could use Asia Miles. Okay, let's see, this one has 2 choices. The one at 10:20 in the morning seems logical. And this is on Asia Miles. So we know that the 13th is going to be okay because the 16th is available to go onward. So we'll go back to what we were doing on Aeroplan, and we'll use the one that's on the 13th. Usually the best one's at the top, and we just check the connection time. That has 9 hours in Bangkok. That's kind of long. Let's see what else there is here. There's 10 hours in the middle. Here's 15 hours. Maybe they'd like an even longer layover and stay overnight in Bangkok, but not likely. So if they're going to have such a long layover in Bangkok, sometimes you want to make it so that they have plenty of time to go to a hotel. See, this one up here is 9 hours. They get there at 22 and they leave at 7 in the morning, which means they have to be back at the airport at 5 in the morning. That's no fun. So let's get one that gives them an even longer layover so they have time to, you know, get up and do something. So this one, I'm looking at the miles over here on the right. I want to pick one that has low miles but has a long layover. So here they get there at 22 and leave the next day in the evening. That's kind of good. Let's see. This leaves at 5 in the evening. This leaves at 7 in the morning. This leaves at 8 in the morning. '22 is 10 at night, and then have to get back to the airport at 6 in the morning if they don't have any time to do anything. This gets there at 4, leaves at 7. This one they have a whole day in Bangkok before they have to leave. So let's pick that one. The salesperson will talk to them and, you know, see if we have to do another requote, but for now we'll just pick this one. Okay, so here's the miles, 170,000 miles and the taxes. So that's going to go in the award calculator under Air Canada, and it's 170,000, And then see that 2 up here and a picture of a person. That means that it covers 2 people. So I'm going to end up having to split it. And the total taxes down here is 232.20 Canadian. So I go to my converter and hit CAD and put in the 222.20. And that's US dollars 170. So I copy that from over here. Oh, 232.20. 232.20. So then I copy my US dollars from over here on this side, put it in the award calculator. The miles was 170. So it's Air Canada, there's our 170. Here's the taxes. And the website said it covers 2 people, so I have to hit the split button, change the 1 to a 2, and hit OK. That cuts it in half, so it's really only 85,000 miles per person. Okay, then next I have the next piece I found on Asia Miles, which is CX. So we go to Asia Miles, and on Asia Miles, you have to check it 2 different ways. So I click my shortcut so that I get to the page I'm familiar with to start off with. Get your own free Asia Miles membership so that you can search on Asia Miles. Just sign up for a frequent flyer account. And then you go down here to the second section where it says redeem online. And it's from Delhi to London, just this piece. Delhi to LHR. And it's one way. And it's on the 16th of September, because we stayed there 3 days. Actually, we're not going to get there till, where did our flight go? We're not going to get there until the 14th. So 3 days is going to be the 17th. So let's see if the 17th is available. I'll hit the down arrow, because we're staying a night in Bangkok along the way also, it looks like. So we're going to get there the 14th, which means we'll leave the 17th if we want 3 days in Delhi. So let's see if it's available the 17th. I can change this one and lurk on the 17th also. I'll use Qantas instead this time. Okay, the 17th is not available. So what we might have to do, see, these non-stops are not available. So we're going to have to go the 16th. Maybe we're going to have to leave Sydney the 12th, but we don't know for sure that he wants to do that yet. So I'm just going to make 2 days in India for now, because I don't, have privy to the information of what the customer wants. I don't know if he can leave the 12th, so I'm going to just leave this the 13th, and we'll just have him 2 days, because he didn't specify 3 days in India. He just said a few days stopover in India. So we'll just go with a 2 day stopover. So next we've got to put these pretty flights into our quote. So I'm going to copy that TG 472 and go over here to Matrix and put in here we have 3 different jobs available here at First Class Discount Air. One job is strictly quoting, and another job is quoting but also calling the customer to clarify things, and another job is quoting and calling and selling. And of course I'm trained to do all 3 of those, so I might just call up this customer and ask him before I go assuming all this stuff. I'm trained as a telemarketer, which means that I'm qualified to call the customer and ask them questions instead of just guessing. Let me see about doing that just a moment. Then we can do a quote that more, that better fits what he wants and what he's willing to do. So give me a minute while I call him and ask him. If you're trained as a telemarketer, you can do that too. Call the customer and ask them about things while you're doing the quote to clarify things, and you get paid extra for that. You get paid $1 a quote for doing the quote, but you also get paid 10 cents a minute for any connected time that you're talking to a customer or an airline if you're a telemarketer. So give me a second while I go get his phone number and such and give him a call, because I don't want to go all the way through this quote and find out that he really wanted 3 days in Delhi. So that's a good reason for you to eventually get trained as a telemarketer, so that you can call the customer and ask them stuff like that. If it makes the quote go faster, better, and plus you get paid extra for that. So I'm going to another monitor, another screen, so I can call him. If you call customers or airlines for us, you get paid an extra 10 cents US dollars per minute. So for every 10 minutes, you get another $1 US on your paycheck. Okay, let's see. Every 10 minutes you're talking to customers, it's another $1 for you. It's kind of like doing another whole quote. Okay, the phone's ringing. He's not answering.
I'm not available at the moment. Please leave a message. I'll call you back.
Peter, it's Donald. I just had a couple questions. If you can call me toll free, it's a local free call for you. It's 1800-899-622. Please call 1-800-899-622 anytime. Talk to you soon. Thank you, Peter. Okay, so we don't know, so we're going to have to guess. So we're going to do Sydney to Delhi. And Air Canada is the type of miles we're buying it with, but it gave us Thai Airways flights. There's the first Thai Airways flight number that I copied from here. And here's the second Thai Airways flight number, TG315. Control C to copy it. And it goes right after this one with a space. And the date that we're using is September 13th. Am I right? We're September 13th. Okay. So this gives us what's called the pretty flights. And when you get there, you first click the duration button and hit sort by duration and then close that with the X. That brings this flight that's only 33 hours to the top, instead of accidentally getting one that's 57 hours or 81 hours. Those would have longer layovers in Bangkok. I can click over here on the right and see the details to make sure it's the one with the 19-hour layover like I thought, and it's the right dates and the right flight numbers. I hit the price of it. That brings me to what we call the pretty flights. And at the pretty flights, you click as close as you can to this black line with the left mouse, then let go of the mouse, hold the shift, and then click down here in the right-hand corner to get it all copied. Hit Control C to copy it. And that's going to go into our quote as the first flight. So we go down to the itinerary info and just put that in there as the first flight. We don't stretch it or move it now. We just hit Save Itinerary and it stretches it for us. But we do get rid of these symbols, the moon, the overnight flight symbol, the dinner symbol, the knife and fork, the movie symbol, because those symbols tend to send our quote to spam if there's too many symbols, too many links in the quote. So we leave the link for the airline logos because that's important, but we take out all the dinner and movie type stuff. And then on any of these flights that are long flights, you need to look it up and see if it's a flatbed. This is a 9-hour flight that's long. So we're going to look it up and see if it's a flatbed or not. So that's Thai flight 472. So we go to our website called Seat Guru, click on Find Seat Maps, and what was it? It was TG 472. So put in here TG 472, and it's on March or September 13th. September 13th, go and view map. And then look at the business class section at the top right, and it says angle flat seats with 170 degrees recline. So that one is, let me get back to my quote. So that one is angle flat. You don't say seat, you say bed. Angle flat bed, 170 degrees. If you don't have the degree symbol on your computer, just type out the word degrees. And this one, even though it's only 4 hours, I'm already here, I might as well look it up. It's Thai Airways flight 315. So I'm going to click Find Seat Maps again. TG315, and the date is a day later because he stayed overnight. And view map. And this one is a flatbed, 180 degrees. Even though it's a short flight, he gets a flatbed on the short flight. That's kind of funny, just because it's a bigger plane, I guess. Okay, and this is flatbed, 180 degrees. Oops, wrong symbol. Okay, and we hit save. You hit save between everything. Okay, then our next flight is on Asia Miles. And on the Asia Miles website, you have to check it 2 different ways. First of all, you go down here to Flight Awards in the second section. And we should be able to see a flight that leaves at like 10 in the morning. Let's see, it was on the 16th. We should be able to see one that leaves about 10 in the morning, according to KVS. So we're going to go from Delhi to London. And that's one way because it's just a piece of the trip in business class. And it's on September 16th. We have them staying 2 nights in India. September 16th, 2 people. Delhi to London, September 16th, one way, business class search. Okay, and it's always best to leave this as flexible travel dates, I think. So I'm going to leave it as flexible travel dates because I think that's the one that shows me the taxes. If you put fixed travel date, it doesn't show you the taxes. Yeah, see, this one shows me the taxes. So it says it's 45,000. You got to be careful, Asia Miles, that's per person. That doesn't cover 2 people because it doesn't say anywhere here that it covers 2 people. Because it doesn't say it covers 2 people, you know it's 1 person. So it's 45,000 per person. So that, therefore, when I put it in the award calculator, I don't need to split it because it's already per person. And I'm going to highlight this 0 so it disappears, hit 45, tab, and it'll add the zeros for me. Now I need the taxes. The taxes are right here on Asia Miles. It's 2,049 Hong Kong dollars per person. So I'm going to put HKD in the money converter and put 2049. And that's 264 in US dollars. Control C to copy that. Put it over here in the where are we putting it? In the word calculator. And because it's Asia miles or Qantas, you always add $100 per person each direction. I don't need to add $200 here, even though it's two people, because the pricing is always for one person. So I'm not going to split it. So I don't need to put the total for two. I need the total for one. 45,000 miles for one, 264 taxes for one. And it's one way, so I have to add $100 per person per direction. So that's only $100 for one person for the airport fee. The taxes do not include the airport fee when you're using Asia miles and Qantas. Those are the only two. What's this $100 doing over here? That doesn't belong there. This has been left over from what we were doing before. The only two that you have to put a fee in here is CX, which is Asia miles, or Qantas. CX and Qantas, you have to put $100 per person per direction in the fees column. That's the only time you use that. You never use it for anything else. And it's because they don't include that when they give you the taxes on Cathay and Qantas. Okay, so there's the first two pieces. Now we need to come home from Barcelona. Actually, we need to go to Asia miles and check it another way. Remember I said you have to check it two different ways. There's two airlines where you have to check things two different ways. One of them is Asia miles. You have to check it two different ways. And the other one is Air Canada. You have to check it two different ways. So we're looking at Asia miles, and now you need to check it the second way. The first way was this second section here where I got the miles and taxes. But now I also have to go to this flight award finder to check it here. And this is going to be a one-way ticket from class is business class from Delhi to London. I'm checking it the second way, which is a requirement on Asia miles. I have to select the airline. It's British Air that it gave me, and then hit search. I know it's British Air because the website and KBS both told me that. Okay, so I checked it the second way. It says it's 45,000 miles. That agrees with what I've got already. So I've double checked it and I know it's right. So therefore this 45,000 up here is already correct and I don't need to fix it. Sometimes when you go to use that flight finder, you find out it's 55,000 miles or 60 because they've had an update or a change. And for some reason you have to check it both ways to get the right answer in both Asia miles and Air Canada. Okay, so we double checked that. Now we're going to go the return trip. The return trip is an open jaw coming home from Barcelona. So it's going to be from Barcelona to Sydney. And the return trip is on the 6th of October. And it's for two people. And I'm going to get rid of this other KVS, and instead I'm going to hit this gear so that I don't have to type the cities in again, and it'll duplicate it, and then I can just slide it over here so that way I didn't have to type the cities again. So this one I can check Qantas on the 6th of October. This one I can go back and check, let's say, Air Canada again, and Barcelona to Sydney, 6th of October, Barcelona to Sydney, 6th of October. This one I'm using QF Qantas miles. This one I'm using AC Air Canada miles. I'm just checking two different airlines at once on KVS. And he's flexible to go the 6th or 7th of October. So if I don't find anything, I can hit the down arrow and try the next day next. No award availability, so I can hit the down arrow. So I'm using KVS to figure out which airline to use to come home. Open jaw from Barcelona to Sydney. Open jaw meaning that I don't have a flight from London to Barcelona. He's getting that way on his own. Okay, so here's Lufthansa and Thai Airways. available. CS Plus or FS Plus works for us. It's better if it's all CS Plus because it's cheaper, because the FS Plus is first class, it'll make it more. But I don't want these down here because it's 4 flights. These at the top are 3 flights. And so this one doesn't have CS Plus all the way. It has a Y in the middle. Y is economy, so I don't want that. So this one up here is a possibility, and it's on the 7th of October. So I found that one, and I could use that one, but I'm going to first look and see if there's anything better. So I'm going to click the gear to duplicate this so that I have another one that I can use without interfering with that one that was successful. So I'll have another one here. And then over here, Qantas didn't find anything, so I'll try Singapore Air next, which is SQ, and I'll try it on the 6th of October first, which is their preferred day. And over here, I can try SQ on the next day, which is the 7th of October. So I've got Barcelona to Sydney on the 6th using SQ, and I've got Barcelona to Sydney on the 7th of October using SQ. I'm checking 2 different days at once on the same airline using KVS. That's why we use KVS. It's just simply faster than going to all the different airline websites and doing the same thing. All KVS is doing is logging into the website for me and doing it for me faster than I could do it myself. No flights available. That means they don't fly that day. So if I hit the 7th, they do fly that day, but it's not available. Okay, so we tried Singapore, so now we'll try Qantas on both days. So what this is telling me is which airline website I'm going to go get it from, but I don't have one yet. I didn't find one yet. I didn't find a return flight for them yet. So this one says nothing available. So now we'll go to British Air and try it. This says waiting for response at the bottom still, so I have to wait. And this one we'll try on British Air on the 7th. So we're trying British Air on both days. Nothing. Okay, how about CX? We're looking for a return flight for them, which we haven't found yet. Well, actually, we found one on Air Canada, but it's 3 flights, and we'd rather find one that's 2 flights or 1 flight if we can. So we do have a return that we can send, but I'm just saving it for a minute to see if I can find something better first. See, nothing. Okay, how about Air France? This one's still thinking on the right. And it found something, but it was all, there's no pluses, so it's nothing. Okay, so Air France has it, but it's 3 flights again, and it's also crappy airlines. This CZ is not a very good airline. So I would rather use the Air Canada, because even though this is available, this one is still 3 flights. It's not 2 flights, but the airline quality is not as good as the Air Canada ones. So I'm going to skip that one. And next we'll try Delta, Barcelona to Sydney. Here's Air France again with 3 crappy flights. So I'm going to skip that one. Experience will tell you when they're crappy flights. Okay, again, the same CZ, so I'm going to skip that one because I already have Air Canada that's better. So I'm just trying to do better than Air Canada, not worse. What would be better is if I could find something on Emirates or Etihad or, you know, really nice airline. Okay, so the AZ doesn't have it. How about the only other one to try on here is this EY. Experience will tell you that, which ones to skip, which ones to try. After a while, you'll know. Okay, so there's nothing. Only one we have is Air Canada, so we're stuck. We're going to have to use this Air Canada one that we found that's okay, but not the greatest. The only reason it's not the greatest is it's more expensive because it's partly first class and it's 3 flights instead of 2 flights. But it's better than nothing, so we're going to go ahead and use it. So we go to Air Canada and look for this on the 7th of October. Oh, Air Canada goes down every day for a few hours for maintenance, so we cannot actually finish this one except that I know it by heart. Let me think for a minute if I can do it by heart. Let's see. Just because I'm experienced, let me just do a backdoor thing, because I'd like to finish this one even though their website's down. If you were doing this one, you'd have to stop and wait for the website to come back up again. You have to wait about 4 hours. But let me see if I can just do it from memory and use a couple resources to make sure. I'm pretty sure it's 110,000 miles. Let me go look for a minute. Use a couple of other resources that we can use. You would not do this. You would stop and just wait a few hours to finish it, come back, go work on another one. But I'd like to finish this as an example. I'm pretty sure it's 110,000 miles. So let me just use some other resources to try and check it. See if I'm remembering right. What happened? Select programs. Let's see. So it's 130. Okay, so I'm gonna okay, 130. So I'm gonna cheat based on my experience, because I know it's 130. And based on my experience, let's see, the first flight, remember Air Canada, you have to check it 2 different ways, and I don't think it'll let me check it right now 2 different ways because the website's down. So let me see if I'm right. I need to check the Barcelona to Frankfurt, but I don't think it'll let me. Let me just try this. I'm trying to cheat and get it done anyway, even though their website's down, just using my experience and some other tools to get it done. Yeah, it says it's unavailable. So I'm going to have to do the second double check later in a few hours, and I'll have to show you how to do that next time. But basically what you do is you check every one of these legs. See Barcelona to Frankfurt, and the 7th of October, and then you check it as a separate individual leg and make sure it still says CS plus. Then you check this next one, Frankfurt to Bangkok, as a separate individual leg and make sure it still says FS plus. And then this other one from Bangkok to Sydney, check it as a separate individual leg and make sure it still says CS plus. Checking them separately as individual legs, just like we did on Asia Miles. We checked them separately as individual legs. And let me just go look at this again and make sure I was thinking straight. Yeah, first class, and we're going one way, so it's going to be half of that. It's 130, so that's right. Okay, so and then for the taxes, for this example, I'm just going to guess on the taxes because I want to get this one finished, and we don't need this extra fee because it's not Qantas or Asia Miles. And I'm going to guess high on the taxes just to make sure I'm safe so that I don't accidentally quote this too low. But I want to be able to send this quote for you as training. So this 130 I know is right. I'm not sure these taxes are right, but I estimated a high to make sure we're safe, to make sure we're not going to lose money if he buys it. And then normally you make this thing 400, but remember this customer said to use 800 here. So, and when it says use 800, you can modify that a little bit. See how this is 6,086? That doesn't sound good. So I'm going to make it 700 and make it 5982. Okay, and remember that part of this trip is first class. So when I go get the pretty flights over here, see this middle flight is first class. I'm going to write down these flight numbers. It's LH 1139 and it's TG 921 and it's TG 471. I got this to search before their website went down. So that's why I say there's flight 1139, 921, and 471. I'm going to go ahead and use these. And it's okay to do this because our quotes are always subject to availability. So while this guy is deciding whether to buy it or not, the availability might change anyway. So, you know, we're not guaranteeing that this is the exact price and the exact availability until he's ready to buy. Then we have to go recheck it all anyway and tell him, okay, now that you want to buy it, let's go recheck it and see if it's still available. When I go to recheck it, I can, you know, adjust and correct the taxes. I can make sure it really is available on all legs. And if it's not, then I just tell them, you know, availability has changed. We got to go with these other, you know, this other option. Okay, so what I got to do next is get the rest of these flights into the itinerary. And I've only got this first flight, so I'm still missing that that British Air flight that was at 10 in the morning from Asia Miles. And did I leave that? Oh, here it is. No, I didn't leave it on here, so I don't know the flight number, but I know it's the 10 in the morning one. So I'm going to just go and get it. So it's from Delhi to London. And I didn't write down the flight number, but I can just put that I want BA plus. BA plus means anything on British Air on September 16th. Just show me anything on British Air on September 16th. And I know it wasn't the 5 a.m. flight, so I'll just get the right one here. It was this 10 a.m. one right here. Oops, that's not it. It's not an 86. See how it's got an 86-hour trip here? That's why you click the duration button first, sort them to get the shortest flights to come to the top, and close this with the something wrong here. These aren't right. Delhi. Oh, to Sydney. I don't want to Sydney. I want to London. No wonder they look so funny. Okay, Delhi to London. Try that again. Okay, so here's the 10 a.m. one. And if you want to check it, you hit details over here. There it is. It's a nonstop. And then you click next to the black line, hold the shift, click down here, and that copies it. Control C. And this, we're going to go put this in the quote. You click this white area on the far right, and you see that black line flashing. Then you hit enter. Then you hit Control V to paste it in there. Then you don't adjust it. You just hit save, and that adjusts it for you. But then you do get rid of the dinner symbol, the knife and the fork. And we do want to put the class. And I know by heart that this one's a fully flat bed, so I don't have to go look it up on SeatGuru because I already know this flight. I know it's a flat bed. So I could put 180 degrees if I want. Oops, wrong symbol. Okay, and then save that. And then we've got to go get these Air Canada flights from Matrix. We're using Air Canada miles, but we're not necessarily flying on Air Canada. So we're going to go this time open jaw from Barcelona to Sydney. And this is flight LH 1139 and TG 921 and TG 471 and it's on the 7th of October. And search. Then you hit the duration button to bring the shortest ones to the top. Close it with the blue X. Hit the price. Check it over, make sure it looks right. Okay, it doesn't have any layovers for 2 days or anything in it. So that one's the right one. It's the right dates, the right flight numbers. Copy that, Control C, go and put that in over here. Click to the right of the last one you did. Notice the black line flashing, then hit enter, then Control V to paste it in there. Don't stretch it, just save it. And then it stretches itself. Then you get rid of the moon and the overnight symbol, the dinner symbol, another dinner symbol, a movie symbol. And now we got to put whether these are flatbed or not. And I like to put the word class just because I think it sounds better. And this A380 I already know automatically is a flatbed, so I don't have to look that one up. And this one is only a 2-hour flight, so it doesn't matter if it's a flatbed. This one's a 9-hour flight, and that one we better look up. It's Thai Airways Flight 471. And we click Find Seat Maps up here. Put in TG 471, which is Thai Airways 471. And the date is October 8th because we flew all night already. October 8th. Go. This is probably another one of those 170-degree ones. Yeah, it's angle flat 170 degrees. See where it says Royal Silk Business right here. So this one is angle flat bed 170 degrees. Okay, so we hit save, and we'll go make sure we have all of our miles and everything in here. So we have the part to Delhi, we have the part to London, and we have the part home again. We've got the, it said to make the GP 800, but the price didn't sound good when I did that, so we changed it to 700 to make it sound good. You do have flexibility with the GP. If it says do at least 800 GP and you need to do 700 to make it sound better, that's okay. It's just a guideline. Then you hit this middle button that says Export XML, and then click the white area, hit Control A like Apple to highlight it all, Control C to copy it, and then that goes in the financial information up here. And you click this blue button that says Import a Word Calculator, hit Control V to paste it in there, and then hit OK. And then the retail price we don't know, so we're going to estimate it. You usually just estimate it $2,000 higher, $2,000 or $3,000 higher than our quoted price. So I'm going to just put in here 7982.31. It's okay to estimate the retail price as long as you make it, a couple thousand higher than what we're selling it for, if you know that that's reasonable. Obviously, this is a big long trip. It goes to Delhi, it goes to London, it comes home from Barcelona, all the way back. So we know that it's not a $1,000 ticket, it's not a $2,000 ticket. It's going to be a couple thousand more than what we're selling it for. Now this, he lives in Australia, and it already says Australian. I cannot leave it on that because see, the currency over here is 0 because it hasn't refreshed yet. So I can't just leave it on Australian. I have to change it to something unrelated that I don't want, and then change it back to Australian that I do want. And now it has the right Australian dollars in here instead of 0. It refreshes it. So now I hit save. So what I have in my let's see, it must still be saving. What's happening? There we go. Now what I have in my financial information is I've imported all the miles and everything. I put in the retail price, which is okay to estimate. I change this to something I don't want, and then change it to what I do want. And what I do want is the currency where he lives. His trip is starting in Australia. He lives in Australia, so he's going to want to see the price in Australian dollars, but then it also quotes it in US dollars at the same time too. So we have the itinerary complete. We have the math line complete, so we're ready to save it and then send it. If you get this complicated screen popping up, that just means that you've saved it already, and it's just saying, you know, you tried to save it again, but it was saved already. So this is not an error. It's just telling you that it's already been saved. So if it's already been saved, now you go down to send a quote. And when you send a quote, there's three things you do. First of all, when you see this complicated screen that has all these percentages and things, this screen right here, you do nothing. You don't touch it. When you see the complicated screen, don't touch it, but instead go down here and hit preview and send again in the lower left-hand corner. And then you get the true pop-up of where you really are actually sending the quote. And this is a pop-up that you can minimize if you want to, or if you lose track of it, where did it go? You just point to your Chrome, and it'll be one of these Chrome windows, and you just click it and it comes back again. Okay, so there's three things to do to the quote when the pop-up comes up before you send it. The first thing to do is go get the US dollar price from right here and copy it. And oh, you know what? One of those flights was first class. I gotta go fix that. So I'm gonna close this. I forgot that that flight was first class over here on Air Canada, remember? This flight from Frankfurt to Bangkok is first class. So I closed my send. I didn't send it, and instead I'm going to go back to this itinerary right here and get it to open up. And then the flight from Frankfurt to Bangkok, this is actually first class because it's an FS Plus. Okay, so that's first class with a flat bed. And if I want to, I can even highlight that if I want to. Highlight it, hit this A up here and make it yellow or something. Okay, then I'm going to save that again. And now we're going to go back to send. And because I closed that box without sending it, it didn't send it yet. So here's the complicated screen where I do nothing, and then I hit preview and send again. And there's three things I do to this before I send it. The first thing is I get the US dollar price and duplicate it, copy it, put it in the subject line, get rid of what's here in the subject line, Control V, make it so that the US dollar price is spelled out, dollars for partly first class. Okay, you can put whatever description you want up there. And then the second thing you do to a quote is put in the phone number of the salesperson that you're doing the quotes for. You that I'm training right now will only do quotes for Terry C. and also for Donald. Donald is myself, I'm Donald. But when you put in this paragraph, which is the second thing, see this phone number at the end of it? Make sure that phone number matches the phone number that's down here in the signature. If you're quoting for Donald, then my phone number is right here, and that's the one that goes in this paragraph. If you look down here and this says Terry Christensen, then you get his phone number from here, and you go up here and put it and replace it in here so that it has his phone number because he's a different salesperson. So you're going to do quotes only for Terry C, T-E-R-R-Y, and the initial C, and also for Donald. So when you do quotes, make sure you're only quoting, make sure the signature down here, it either says Donald or else it says Terry C, otherwise you did something wrong. So you're only going to be doing quotes for Donald and also for Terry C. But whoever you're doing the quote for, you got to make sure and put the right phone number in here in case the customer wants to buy it. So that's Donald's phone number. And then Terry's phone number would be down here. It would say Terry Christensen, Terry Carpenter as the name of the salesperson, and then it would have his phone number, and you put his phone number up there instead of Donald's. Okay, so first thing you do is fix the subject line with the US dollar price. Second thing you do is copy in this paragraph, and we'll give you that paragraph so you can copy and paste it. and make sure it has the right phone number in it. Then the third thing you do is go down here and click to the right of the signature so that that black line flashes, and then hit enter. Then put your first name and your last initial, and then a hyphen how many seats you searched for. I searched for 2 seats. Even if you search for 2 seats, this price up here is always for 1 person. All the prices, the miles, the award calculator is always for 1 person. But if they want to buy 2 tickets, this 2 tells us that you did search for 2 seats. There are 2 seats available if they do want to buy 2 of them. And then this next thing is the GP in the code. If you don't remember your GP, just go over here to the financial info, and there it is. The GP is 700 on this one. Okay, so I got to go get my pop-up back again that where I'm working on the send, and that's going to be 700. Whenever it's zeros in this code at the bottom, you change the zeros to G. So 700 in code is 7GG. So what this means at the bottom is it's quoted by Donald L. You put your first name and your last initial, hyphen how many seats you searched for, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then this is the GP, and if there's any zeros in the GP, you use a G. If the GP was 755, it would just say 755. But because the GP is 700, you replace the zeros with G's, and it's 7GG. So it's quoted by Donald. There's 2 seats for sale if they want to buy 2, and the GP is 700. And that's it. It's ready to send. So you've got the subject line fixed. You've got this extra paragraph. Everything looks right. It's the right date, September 13th. He gets there the 14th. Then he's got 2 nights in Delhi. Then he leaves the 16th. Then October 7th, it's open jaw. He's coming back from a different city, from Barcelona. And this part of it is first class. And we're good to go. So we'll send that. Now, let's say you sent it, and then you have this pop-up on your screen. You can't remember, did I send this one or not? If you're not sure if you sent it already, don't hit send again. Do not send it a second time. Don't hit send again, but instead close it if you're not sure you sent it, and come up here to where it says researching and hit the F5 key to refresh your screen, or you can hit this symbol up here to refresh your screen. But if you refresh your screen and it automatically all by itself changes from the word researching to sent, then you know that you did send it. Not only that, it won't let you save it down here because it's blocked, because it's already sent. I think if I click quote send here, I don't know, does it let me send it again if I wanted to? No, it doesn't let me click send again. So, you know, if you're not sure if you sent it, close that pop-up and look and see if it'll let you send it again after you refresh it. After you refresh it, instead of researching, it'll say sent. And if you try and preview and send again, it won't let you. And if you try and save it, it won't let you, because it's already sent. It doesn't want you to make changes to it after you've already sent it. Otherwise, our version will be different than the version that the customer got. So this one's done. We can go into our request workflow checklist and mark that I'll put requoted with Delhi stopover, let's say. And then I'm done working on it, so I'm going to check that little box. So if anybody else wants to come and do a different version, you know, maybe leaving a couple days earlier and a longer stopover or something like that, then, you know, they could. Okay, so that's completely done. Anybody have any questions on that one? Obviously, it took me a long time to do it because I was explaining it to you. If I was doing it myself, I would have just click, it's available, it's not, click, it's available, it's not, click, you know, get the flights from Matrix, click, put them all in the, you know, put them all in the award calculator, click, you know, go. So after a while, when you get to know what you're doing, you're just going to, you know, click, buzz through these. Oh, it's only Air Canada available. The others aren't available. Boom, boom. You know, put that in, you know, click save, click go, click send, you're done. So, you know, after a while, you'll be able to do, you know, a quote in, you know, 10 or 15 minutes easily, instead of taking a whole hour like it took me to explain this one. Okay, so any questions before I move on and do another one? So let me make sure I've got my volume up in case you're trying to talk to me. Anybody want to talk to me or ask any questions before I do another one?
Yes, I have a question, sir.
Okay.
Regarding on the itinerary, uh, the one has that think 1200 GP, that was the original value. Then you changed it to 800, then you change it again to 700. So as what I know from the previous training, so it was on 400 GP.
Yes, normally you use 400 GP or close to it. The reason I used more is because in the notes up here it said to use more. It said right here, use at least 800 GP per person on this quote. So that's why I didn't use 400. Normally you change the 1200 to 400. And if you're not sure, just change it to 400. 400 is the normal standard. But once you do change it to 400, if the price comes out to $5,002, that doesn't sound good. So you change the 400 to 395 so that it comes out to $4,995, right? And
Yes,
that's why I changed it to 700, because when I had it at 800, it didn't sound good. It was 6,000 and something dollars, and it didn't sound good. It didn't sound like it would sell. It didn't sound like a good deal. So I wanted to make it less than 6,000. I wanted to make it 59 something. That's why I changed it to 700. You are allowed to change the GP anytime you want to in order to make the quoted price sound better, look better. So if I used 400 here and it came out to, 6,001, I would change the 400 to, let's say, 390 or something like that, so that it comes out to 5,900 and something, because it sounds better. It's cheap, it sounds cheaper. So you adjust this gross profit as you need to make it sound better. Even though it told me to use 800, when I used 800, it didn't look good. It looked, $6,100 or something. I thought, that doesn't look good. I'll just use 700 instead, and now it's 59.95, 59.82, for example. So the GP is not fixed. You're the one that decides the GP. And when you first pull up the award calculator, it always has 1,200 here automatically, because that's the most that we ever charge. But usually you don't use 1,200. Usually you use 400. And if I was going to use 400 on this, see how it's 56.68? Well, I might as well make it 425, because it's still going to be 56 something, 56.94. So I would use 425. If this one was, well, that's just an example. You either raise the 400 or lower it to make this come out to, 56.95 or 39.95 or 49.95, something that sounds good. So when I first put in my 400 here, it was 56.68. Well, 56.68 to a customer sounds the same as 56.95, right? So we might as well get an extra 425 and get the full price. This yellow box is what the company is earning on selling the ticket. It's the company's profit on selling the ticket. That's why it's called gross profit. It's the profit that the company's going to make if this customer buys it. But you're the one that determines that profit. It could be 1,200. The most you can use is 1,200, and the lowest you can use is 101. But you're the one that decides that. And what decides it is what sounds good, okay? So this one, it told me to try and use around 800, so I did that at first, and that didn't sound good. It was 6086. That doesn't sound good. If I put 700, it sounds a lot better, 59.95, right? Or
yes,
I could have put 715 here, for example, so that it's 59.97. So I could have used 715, would probably be better, but I was in a hurry, so I just used 700. So you're the one that decides this. It can be anything you want, anywhere from 101 is the lowest you can use, and the highest that you normally use is 1,200. But it's very rare that you use 1,200. Almost every quote, you're going to use 400 and then adjust this so that it comes out to $95. Either make it 425, or if you had to, you could make it 325 or 330. 330 is also close enough to 400. So it would be up to you. You could use 330 and make this 55.95, or you could make this 425 if you want to and make it 56.95. 426 would make it 56.95. You're the one that decides that, because you're the one that notices on Matrix how much it sells for. You know, this is an $8,000 ticket just one way home. So obviously, you know, I could have used the full 800, but I just wanted to make sure it sells, because the more of your tickets that sell, it doesn't affect your pay, but it affects your performance. You know, it affects how good of a job you're doing. It doesn't affect what you earn, because you get paid $1 a quote whether they buy it or not. If you send somebody 3 quotes and they don't buy any of them, we still pay you the $3 US dollars. Plus, if you're making phone calls to the customer, we also pay you 10 cents a minute US dollars for calling them. And if you're helping us, you know, calling the customer back to get their credit card and writing up the orders, you get paid again a third time for that, 5% of the GP. So if one day you become one of our salespeople, which is optional, you don't have to, you would get 5% of this if they bought it, if you're the one that, you know, got their credit card and wrote up the order, which means you get an extra $22 or so if they buy it. So you get $1 a quote for doing the quote. So if you send the same person 3 quotes, that's $3. If you send the same person 2 quotes, that's $2 US. If you eventually become trained to be a telemarketer and you call the customer or call the airline to clarify things, then on top of that, you get paid 10 cents a minute. So for every 10 minutes you're on the phone actually connected to a customer, talking to a customer, connected to an airline, talking to an airline, that would be another $1 to your pay. And if you're eventually turned into one of our salespeople also, which is optional, you don't have to, but some do, then you'd actually get 5% of this 426 also on top of the quoting and on top of the phone calling. You'd get 5% of this 426, which would be roughly about $22 that you'd get if you're the one that called and got the credit card, and if you're the one that wrote up the order. You know, some telemarketers don't do that step. They just call and make sure they saw the quote. They just get paid 10 cents a minute for the time they're on the phone. But if they also call back and the customer wants to buy it and they write up the order, then there's another 5% of the GP that you get paid. So there's 3 different jobs. Quoting is $1 a quote, calling is 10 cents a minute, and selling, getting the credit card, writing up the order is 5% of the GP. But you can do all 3. You get paid for all 3 of those if you want to do all 3 functions. Or you can concentrate on one function. You can concentrate on just quoting and nothing else. Just make $1 a quote, just bang out the quotes as fast as you can go. People who do that and work full time make about 20,000 pesos a month working for us, 20,000 Philippine pesos a month, because you can do about 100 quotes a week times 4 weeks in a month is about 400 quotes a month, which is about 400 US dollars, which is about 20,000 Philippine pesos. And that's just quoting without doing anything else, just quoting. If you also call, then you get paid on top of that. And if you also sell, you get paid on top of that. Okay, any other questions on that before I move on?
Yes, last question. I saw here on the 426 GP, so it was 1200, right? So as what I know, when you scroll on the above, please, I saw on the third box. Please scroll above.
What's your question?
Can you please scroll it above?
Scroll up.
Yes. Not one, not that one. Click outside, no, white yellow.
Oh, so I didn't understand. What did you want me to do?
Can you scroll above again? Yeah, right here on the type. So I saw on the GP it's 1200. So as what I know, on the EC it was 400 GP, and the other one is 400. So is this 400 GP per box because this is 3 airlines here?
No, no, it's not related to the airlines. It's just related to making this price at the bottom sound good. Normally, no matter what you have in the top section, you have 400 here in the bottom normally. No matter what's in the top, you always have 400 at the bottom here normally, usually. The only reason to change it is if there's some special instructions, like this one said use 800, or the only reason to change it is to make it sound better. Like you might make it 325 to make it sound better, or you might make it 425 to make it sound better, but it's going to be approximately 400. And if you're not sure what to use, then just leave it at exactly 400, and that's fine. You don't have to change it. You can just leave it at 400. You could just leave every single one of your quotes always automatically at 400, and that's fine. You know, you can do it that way if you want. But personally, I think that, you know, it's better to adjust it a little. Might as well help the company make an extra $25 and make it $425 and make it $56.95. The customer's not going to care. Hold on just 1 minute. I have to answer a chat that's on the website, so bear with me a minute. Okay. So you were asking, you know, do you change this 400 depending on what's up here at the top? No, you don't. It doesn't matter if there's one line at the top, 2 lines at the top, 3 lines at the top. It doesn't matter what's at the top. This is going to be 400 per person or close to it usually. Okay, does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, you don't, it's not per airline. It doesn't become 400 times 3 because there's 3 up here. No, it's just a flat 400 no matter what. Even if it was just one way and there was only one airline up here, it would still be 400 down here. Even if they're only traveling one way and you only have one type of miles and it's only a short trip, you'd still use 400 down here or close to it. On the average, we make 400. The company makes about 400 on each ticket. And that way they have money to pay you for the quotes and pay for the website and pay for, you know, the 5% to the salesperson who sells it and so on and so on. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly look at a couple of things and have you watch. I'm just going to check a couple of things just for educational purposes. I think this is the one I'm looking for. Yeah, so this is one that I just want to check. They want to go from Mexico City to Beirut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this customer's email address so I can see all the quotes. This is not something a quoter would do. I'm just letting you watch it so that you can see how I check your quotes and what I'm looking for. So this is a quote that somebody did, and I'm just looking to see if there's anything I can do to educate them to how they could have done it better. First, I'll add this customer to our database, and I'll make it so that all of these quotes are archived now that I've looked at them. They don't need to be in my inbox. So here's what happened at 1 o'clock today. This customer, what happened here? Let's see. I need one ticket. Oh, I see. He responded to one of our old quotes from back in November. See, this quote was sent in November. So he replied to this old quote and he says, hi, I need a new quote. February 27th, back to 27th of March. Okay, so then that went into our website automatically, and here's where the lead got assigned to the salesperson, and here's where looks like one new quote was sent to him. And this quote was sent by Dan B. It's got 400 GP in it. See, the 4GG means 400. He searched for one seat, and the quote was done by Danilo B. He did it for Donald the Guru. So this phone number right here should be the one in the paragraph at the top, and it is. So that was done right. The US dollar price from right here should be in the subject line, and it is. And you put it in there with no dollar signs and no commas. We never use dollar signs and we never use commas. So it's not 5,6 and there's no dollar sign. It just like that, it's perfect. Okay, now he got this from Alitalia, and let's see, February 28th, March 30th. We see how those dates match to what the customer asked for. He asked for February 27th, but he said he was flexible, plus or minus 2 days to March 27th, also flexible. So anything around February 27th to March 27th would be accurate. And so the agent who, or the quoter who did this, did it right. They have February to March, and they picked flights with a short layover. That's good. 3 hours on the layover. They looked up the beds. This one's a flat bed. This is a recline seat. This is a recline seat. This is a flat bed. So that's all perfect. So basically, this quote was done perfectly correctly. And I'm looking at it because I'm the salesperson. I'm Donald the Guru, and I'm looking at it to see if I need to call this customer. First of all, he's in Mexico City, so I can't call him right now because it's midnight or something there. So all I can do is, mark it to call him later if I want to see what time it is in Mexico City. Let's see. I click this clock right here. If I wanted to tag it and tell myself when to call him, So what you're watching me do right now is salesperson type work. Our salespersons are called LFCs, or luxury flight consultants. And what you're seeing me do right now is LFC type work, the kind of work you'd do if you were going to get paid 5% of the GP. And of course, you can do that eventually if you want to, once you learn how to do quotes. What did I do? Let's see. Anyway, see, it's somewhere between 10 at night and 1 in the morning in Mexico, depending on where he is. So therefore, the time zone is roughly the same as where I am. And so as a salesperson, if I want to, I can mark this to, what time I want to call him. And basically, I just wanted to make sure this quote was sent right, and it is. It's not all that cheap, but it's done right. It's not the fault of the quoter that it's not very cheap. It's the fault of Alitalia, who's charging us a lot of miles for it. But there could be more quotes sent for this one. So as the salesperson, I'm not going to take it off the list yet. I'm going to leave it so that other people can work on it. Okay, so I'm going to just check that one off my list. There's another one I want to check with you to kind of analyze how well it was done, or if there's anything I need to tell the quoter about it. This is another one to look at. So here's where the lead came in from the website. He wants April 9th, April 16th, Paris to Washington. April 9th, April 16th, Paris to Washington. And here's a quote that says April 7th, April 19th. So the dates are off, but they probably had to do that. And this one goes to JFK, then an economy flight down. It's a cheap price. It's only $2,700. It was done by MK. He only did 200 GP, and the reason is he was trying to be competitive. Because see, even then we're only saving the customer $700. So he did that to be competitive, which is fine. So instead of 400, he used 200. So that's fine. And then let's look and see what else was done on this one. Here's another quote that was sent him by another quoter. And this one is 350 GP. It was done by Crystal, and she searched for 2 seats. And April 10th, April 16th. So let's see, how does that compare to his dates? He wanted April 9th, April 16th. So that's pretty close. It's a day late, but that's apparently all that was available. So let's see, she put in Donald's phone number in that paragraph. Oops, there's Terry's phone number, but it was sent for Donald, so it has the wrong phone number in it. So I need to tell Crystal, hey, when you're sending quotes for Donald, use this phone number. So let me just Skype her that really quick. So you can see there's a mistake there. She used Terry's phone number, even though it's a quote for Donald. So just give me a second while I tell her about that. I'm going to just tell her in Skype. second. Actually, I'm going to put it in everybody's Skype just to let everybody know that. So we'll go to so this will send it to everybody. Be careful to use this in Donald's quotes. With phone number be careful to use this in Donald's quotes with phone number blah blah. And then the one for Terry's quotes is the one she used, which is this one. So you should have this copied twice, or on a sticky note twice. See, like when quoting for Terry C, you would use the following instead in your quotes. And that's this same paragraph, just a different phone number in it. Remember, I showed you, you go to the bottom and make sure that the phone number in the top paragraph matches the phone number in the bottom. So for example, down here, here's the signature and here's the phone number, 471-6939. That needs to match the phone number that you put up here. That happens to be Terry C's phone number, not Donald's. Not a big problem, but she needs to know that need to do it that way. Okay, so other than that, looking at her quote, it looks okay. She used 350 GP, and she's got the US dollar price in the subject line. The person lives in Paris, and if you don't sure what the currency is for Paris, you just Google it. You just go up here and put currency, if I could spell it right, currency for Paris, and it'll tell you that it's euros, and she did that right. So, you Google it, find out what their parent currency is, it's euros. So over here in the quote, the local currency that she picked, remember where you pick something you do not want first, and then you pick what you do want, and she picked euros, and that's exactly right. So the price gets shown up in dollars and also in euros. So this quote is done exactly right. And this person is in Paris. I can't call this person in Paris right now because it's not, let's see, it's 11 where I am. Maybe I could call him. Let me see. What time is it in Paris right now? It's probably almost morning in Paris right now. So let's CDG, see if I can call him. As a quoter, you don't have to call anybody. You only call people if see, it's 7 in the morning. It's a little too early still, so I'll leave that one. Okay, so that one I checked and it's good. There's one more I want to check with you to help you see what's a good quote, or if there's something that I forgot to teach. KHAIRI. I want to check this one. Okay, so this one came in, and here's a quote, 12:55. It's just London to Dubai, and it was done by Crystal again with 350 GP, and this time she has the right phone number in there, so it must have just been a one-time mistake. Okay, so this one looks perfect. And let's see, February 14th, that's, did you see the quotes? And here's another quote. Here's another quote, Dubai to London. Oops, here's a mistake. They forgot to put the local currency. If you're not sure what the local currency is, don't leave it blank. Just go ahead and use US dollars. And they've also accidentally got part of matrix in here that doesn't belong. So there's two mistakes in here. Part of matrix that doesn't belong is here, and then he or she should have put the local currency. And I already know that the currency in AMS doesn't have one for Dubai. And that's probably why she left it blank. But if it doesn't have one, then you use US dollars for both. So what I'm talking about over here is not here, but when you do the financial info and you import it, see this one right here? There is nothing for Dubai here. There's no United Arab Emirates, there's no Dubai, there's nothing. You can't pick anything. So what you do is you click it to something you do not want and then click it to US dollars. And that's what she should have done. And then it would have been 59 here and 59 again here. And both of them would be US dollars. But that's important to not have this be zero. Price per person, zero, that's not good. And so that's just a mistake. So if Kevin S. is in this training meeting, you're the one that did that, and apparently we just didn't teach you that yet, so just be careful. I kept saying she, and it's actually Kevin. So Kevin, if you're listening, don't have any extra stuff from Matrix in here. And secondly, don't ever skip the local currency. You have to put in dollars. If you don't know what else to put dollars, and then it'll come out right. But other than that, this is a good quote. It has the right phone number for Donald up here. It's got the paragraph. It's got the price. And I'm curious to see what kind of miles were used for this. Is probably either Delta or Virgin miles. So let's go look at this actual quote. So to do that, we're gonna get the customer's name. So let's go look at the actual quote that Kevin did to see what kind of miles he used and so on. So what I'm gonna do is go to quotes needed and search for the last name. And to search, you hit this magnifying glass at the lower left. So that's to search. Then you put the last name in here, or the whole name if you want. Notice how there's a space in front of it. It won't find it with a space in front of it. I got to get rid of that space that's in front of it for it to find it. And then it may still not find it until I try again sometimes. So I'm going to Control X, cut that out of there. I'm going to try that all over again, but without the space in there. Sometimes it won't find it unless you put in the whole name instead of just the last name. Oh, I know why it's not finding it, because probably the salesperson changed it so it's not on the quoting list anymore. So I'm gonna put on my salesperson hat and go see if that's what happened to it, why it's not here anymore. Because once there's enough quotes sent, then it won't be here anymore. It won't be at the list anymore for you to quote, because there's already been enough quotes sent. So now I'm in a different part of the computer where the salesperson goes to decide whether it needs more quotes or not. And here it is. See, it says quote sent, no more required. That's why you as a quoter can't see it anymore. So then what I'm going to do is act like a salesperson for a minute and look in a different part of the computer that you don't have access to and look at the quotes that were sent, because I want to go look at the quotes that were sent to see, yeah, it says that he used VS miles, which is good. It's a good price. So I'm going to click edit and see what he did here. I'm just going backwards and looking at the work of this quoter. And the reason is because Kevin's brand new. I need to make sure I've remembered to tell him everything, because, you know, you do your first quote, it's obviously going to have mistakes because, you know, I haven't taught you everything yet. So if I look at the itinerary, this is where he accidentally included this stuff down here that doesn't belong there. And when I look at the financial info, it'll tell me what kind of miles he used, which were probably either Delta miles or Virgin miles. Here's where it shows what kind of miles he used, and he used Virgin miles, which is fine. 47.5 looks perfect. So he did a good job. I'm glad he tried using Virgin miles. I'm glad he used 400 GP. And so everything's perfect. It's just that he needs a little more practice on copying the itinerary so he doesn't end up with this extra stuff in here. And also, what else? I think that's pretty much it. So, I mean, is Kevin in this meeting? I'm not sure if you're here, Kevin. No, I don't see you in this meeting. So I'll have to tell him separately. Let me see. Let me Skype him this right now to tell him about it. Just because he may think that he's supposed to have the price down here. He may not know that you're not supposed to get that. Where that came from was when you copy from Matrix, and see what he did is he accidentally, or maybe he didn't know that he shouldn't get this whole thing, including the price. We don't want this price in there because that price is not our price. That price is what he would have paid if he never called us. And so you do not include that. You just get this part up here, and you just get this much of it. And if you get that much of it, you won't have the price showing in there. So just 1 second while I